Hey there! Today I'm going to show you how I made these flower resin coasters for the first time ever. I've never really used resin, I used them for a painting, but they were super easy and I was really proud with how they turned out. So let me show you how I did this so you can make them for yourself at home. So first we're going to need some resin. I have some resin and some resin hardener. We're going to put these in a 1-to-1 ratio and mix pretty well. I got these on Amazon in a package and it came with some powder and some silicone mixers, so I'll link that in the description box below. It worked really well for me, so feel free to take a look. I also included a silicone spatula. It's kind of nice to kind of keep things separated and resin just dries and peels right off of it. I didn't really use it for this project, but I figured I'd include it in case you wanted to use it. Next, I have these two silicone mats. Silicone and epoxy mix really well because it doesn't get stuck to it, so I recommend these. I got them on Amazon as well. Next, a Popsicle Stick to stir, and a silicone cup that I mentioned earlier. It's really nice and flexible, so it's easy to clean, which is wonderful at the very end. I also included some gloves. You don't really need them. I'm just gonna use them because they're really helpful for me and they keep my hands clean. And now I have my Geo Coaster silicone molds. These are really nice. They come in a pack of 4. I'll link that as well on the description box below. But they're really nice, they're super sturdy, and they're perfect size for if you want to use them for coasters. Next up, we have this beautiful powder that I mentioned that comes in that Amazon pack. It's great if you're starting out in resin like me. I've only used resin once before and I used a clear color, so it's kind of great to have 30 different colors to choose from, but I'm going to go with these 3 for this project. So now that we have all the ingredients out of the way, I'm going to show you how I made those flower coasters. So I have my silicone cup ready, and now I'm opening the resin and the resin hardener. You're going to use 1-to-1 ratios, which is equal parts resin, equal parts hardener, to get that beautiful even epoxy that you're looking for in creating your coasters. So I'm pouring in the resin right now, and I just kind of eyeballed it. My cup had measurements, but feel free to use as much as you need. I'm going to be using a couple different colors, so I wanted to just keep it kind of minimum. So now I'm going in with the hardener and throwing about the exact same amount in there. And once you have all that in there, you're going to just keep stirring. And I mean stirring like the wind. You want to get that nice and blended perfectly so we can kind of avoid any air bubbles and anything else in there that might get icky looking when we have it hard. So after stirring and making sure that it's all good to go, you're going to go in with the color that you wanted. I actually changed to a purple because I'm making this for one of my best friends. So you just kind of plop that color in there and you're just going to keep stirring. And this is also a good way to add some additional stirring because you can't go wrong with extra stirring when you're making resin. So you can kind of see that beautiful rich purple color. You want it to be consistently blended, make sure that it looks pretty pigmented, and then once you're good to go, you're just going to start pouring your resin right along the sides of your mold. I will say I suggest when you are pouring your resin into the mold to go pretty slowly. I know I kind of speed up in the process of it because this is my first time making coasters, and I wasn't really worried about kind of the way it looked. I just wanted to kind of test it out. So if you are trying to get a pretty good mold and keep that color in that one area, I will probably be doing a follow-up video on how you can kind of keep those colors in one area and kind of make a geode coaster versus more of like a flower blended coaster. But you can just kind of start pouring that color into the outsides and it'll create a nice little layering around it. So now I'm just making my second and third colors to add. I'm using, again, equal parts resin, equal parts hardener, and I'm making the 2 colors at once just to speed up time. But feel free to take your time on these. For the second one, I'm going to be doing with the geode. I'm going to be using a butane lighter that I got on Amazon, and I could link that before too. But this one, it just kind of was a test, so I'm just creating a bunch of different colors, and I wanted to play around with it. So as you can see, I'm going ahead and adding the gold pigment to the mixed epoxy resin hardener mix. And once I add that coloring, I'm going to go in with my popsicle stick and just begin stirring once again to make it that color rich and pigmented and beautiful and even. So whenever I do pour it, it is one consistent gold color that'll blend beautifully with that deep, rich purple that's already on our coaster. So now I'm going ahead and pouring that gold color into the purple. I used a spatula to kind of make sure that the purple doesn't blend with the gold immediately, but then I kind of just gave up because it seemed that it was going to blend anyway, and then I kind of figured where I was going to go with it. So I'm just pouring the gold onto both sides. That's touching the purple, as you can see. It's blending together beautifully. It kind of just looks like an iris. So now that I've added the gold to the rich purple color, I'm going to go in with this iridescent pinky opal color in the spots that are open, as well as some of the other places that already have some epoxy. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour that right in to the area that I want it to fill. So now I'm just going in and I saw that there's this big giant glop of purple, so I decided to add the pink iridescent. And then I was like, ooh, is this gonna work? So then I was like, well, I already poured it in there, so I'm just gonna go with it. So I added a giant line of pink opal epoxy into the purple. And I know what you're thinking, I look crazy, and I thought I was crazy when I did it, but I tried to make it work, and I'll show you how I made it work in a second after I thought I just ruined my entire piece. As a wise individual once said, there is no such thing as mistakes, only happy accidents. So this is me making my happy accident salvageable and beautiful. So I found this like sharp pin in one of my toolboxes, and I just went in and I created these zigzag blending motions between the two colors of the purple and the opal, and blended a little bit of the gold into it as well. So I just went in from the outside, and then I moved a little bit closer to the inside to kind of blend that middle color out to the gold as well, because it was kind of shifted to one side, so I kind of wanted it to seem more galaxy-ish themed. And then I just went in and kind of touched it up as I went along. And now I'm gonna go ahead and do that same zigzag pattern to the other mold. Now I don't have as much of that white pink color on this coaster as I did the other one, so I wanted to make this one a little bit more contrasted with the gold and the purple. So that's I kind of kept it a little bit more minimum as opposed to the other one. So I have these two other coasters, so I decided to just go ahead and kind of use any remaining epoxy that I had left. So I went in and I kept that gold color, and I just made this little gold ring around these other two. I made a thicker gold ring, and then I made a little bit of the outside. I added some more gold, and I just wanted to make these a blue, gold, and I believe like a white color. Just for myself, so I just went in kind of doing the same thing I did previously. So once I finished pouring in the resin in my last two coasters, I waited about 24 hours before I touched them and took them out of the mold. I added a couple of the zigzags just to this so it didn't look so circly, but I did want to mention that I did wait 24 hours before touching them. I also didn't record me adding the gold flakes to the purple coaster as you can see in the final product, but it was super easy, and once it hardened I added a little bit of gold flakes to it and I added those into it and they just kind of sat on top of it. But I'm really happy with the way they turned out. I really hope you try it out. It was super fun and I hope you have as much fun as I did. And if you do it, feel free to share your results with me. Well, thank you so much for watching my video and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!